Hey, what's up, guys? So, video today is going to be strictly about my 2013 F-150. And so I've had this for just over a year now, I think. I've taken this truck up Pikes Peak. I've taken it up the mountains in Colorado. I've driven it all the way to Colorado from Oklahoma. I've driven it a lot of different locations. I'm a fiber optics contractor. So I drive on average 160 miles per day. When I got the truck, it had 95,000 miles, and now it's 133,000. When I got it, it had the common error, or I guess it's a recall, for the reverse camera. It always, anytime it says, you put it in reverse and it says contact dealership. And I've tried to contact them so many times, and they try to give me the runaround and up the price. And it's sort of expensive when you look at it on eBay or Amazon even. I mean, it's a necessity. It's important, but at the same time, I really have kind of avoided that. I've never had a backup camera until now, so I've kind of avoided that situation a little bit. The tailgate's cool, how it's got the step that comes down and the handle that folds up. That's cool. The truck's been really good. Um, the only thing I've had to do, your normal rear differential, front differential, your transfer case, change all the fluids in that. That specific year, 2013, is pretty prone to the oil pan leaking at the back side up by the I guess the flywheel, and right there by the starter, right where the pan sits in the back side. It's got a tendency, about 100,000 miles from what I've read and researched, it's going to start dripping and leaking oil. If you have a four-wheel drive, that's a pain in the ass to change. So I've tried that, and I didn't want to go through with all the things that you have to go through with a four-wheel drive in order to change that out, the oil pan gasket, because you have to drop the whole front axle. You have to drop that, and it's a big long job. At least it was to me. It's probably not as bad as what it could be or would be, but I just said to hell with it. I put the pan back up, tightened up the bolts, and I just didn't deal with it. So the leak actually went away from my experience when you switch from 5WD-20, which is the recommended oil, which that's a whole different story, which is CAFE, CAFE, something to do with fuel economy. Honda and Ford had a deal, had some sort of joint thing that they did where at a specific time around that time, they changed all their uh, oil viscosities to 5W20 to save for emissions, to save fuel economy. And 5W30 is actually a little bit better protection, but you get slightly less fuel economy with 5W30. So that's what I did. I switched to 5W30, and if you do, of course, at that mileage, uh, high mileage oil, and if it's really that bad, do a can of Restore. You can buy it at Walmart much cheaper than many of your auto parts stores. So if you go to Walmart and you get a can of Restore V8 formula, they have inline 4, V6, and V8 formula. Um, so if you buy the V8 formula and you stick it in your engine, throw some oil on top of it to kind of stir it up, and then you drive and you let that all circulate and do its heat cycle, you will get uh, much less oil leaks. much less oil consumption, because the first generation Coyote engine, that's what that is in the 2013 F-150. That's the first generation, and I forget when the second generation comes into play. But uh, the third generation really has a big problem with oil consumption, and there's a whole series of YouTube videos about why and how to fix it and what people did. Okay, so if you use um, high mileage oil, that's going to make a little bit of a difference, because you're going to swell all of your gaskets and your O-rings, because you have that polymer that's mixed in with that oil, and it's going to allow those gaskets to swell a little bit and hold that oil a little bit longer. But I have, which I don't hear much about it. I don't really hear many people talking about this. Restore, like I was just saying a little bit ago, the V8 formula. If you go to Walmart, it's the cheapest from what I can tell. Let me know in the comments below if you find it cheaper anywhere else or anything, and what your experience is with Restore. But if you go Restore and you buy this and put it in with your oil, I've noticed horsepower increase, of course, and just like they say right there on the label, horsepower increase, oil consumption reduction, oil leaks that are eliminated. Like from my gathering, it's taking care of that completely, and it's just a great product. I swear by it. Like, it's even with the 32 valve VVT, variable valve timing with the first generation Coyote, which pretty much all the Coyote engine series I've had. I've had great results with my first gen. So if you put the Restore in there, you're gonna see the engine tick is gonna reduce, and most especially if you use 5W30, it's going to quiet that engine tick. Maybe it's somewhat natural to have a little bit of engine tick with that engine, especially with all of 32 valves and everything. Seriously guys, forget when the computer and the whole console, when you set your, especially my truck, my year, you have 5,000-mile oil change intervals, 7,500 and 10,000 oil change intervals. And you have that option to pick what you want to do and how often you want to change your oil. I always, I've tried AMSOIL and stuff, but I had an oil leak. All that fully synthetic, really microscopic, perfect circle molecules, oil, gone. Gone. So I don't mess with it anymore. I've still got that oil leak a little bit, but like I said, Restore helped with that. And if you switch to cheap, fully synthetic like SuperTech or even Quaker State at Walmart, right now I've got Pennzoil Ultra Platinum, not the not the super expensive kind that you have to order, but the Walmart brand. It may not be ultra, but the platinum of the natural gas oil that Pennzoil makes. So, and then 5W30, I upped it, the viscosity. I didn't stick with 5W20, and I think it's helped a lot with that engine tick. So if you switch with that and then a little bit of Restore, it's gonna do miracles on any 50 Coyote. So look, just try it, guys. Let me know what you think. I've seen and heard no negative results with any of that. So if you give it a shot, I think you're gonna get the performance you're looking for and the quiet, smooth running 50 Coyote that you're wanting. You're gonna get a slightly higher compression ratio, slightly higher, performance, and it's gonna help the fuel economy too. So try that, guys. Do it. I highly recommend that. But so far, the oil pan gasket, it leaks around 100,000 miles. And then definitely change your differential if you have a four-wheel drive, front and rear. the oil, at least. Um, as long as you basically stick with full synthetic anything anymore, you're good to go. Even if you go the cheapest. But I always recommend of even if you go cheap oil, cheap full synthetic, the cheapest full synthetic you can get, a lot of times you're good because the quality of the oil all really narrows down to is the filtration of the oil. So higher quality oils, you got the whole additive package and all the different detergents and cleaning and all that, which is good. And if you want to go the extra mile and spend that extra, go for it, do it. But if you want to save money and you're a contractor and you drive 160 plus miles a day like I do, go cheap. The only thing that I don't go cheap on is wicks filters. I do wicks filters, oil wicks filters, and wicks filters on my air filters. Because according to Project Farm on YouTube, if you go to Project Farm and look at those videos, oil filters, air filters, you will realize the wicks, Purelator, Mobile One, in that order, as far as I'm concerned, that's where your quality's at. Wicks being the best. Mobile One, I believe, is right below Wicks. Then you have Purelator, which is actually Motorcraft. Ford, they slap their logo on a Purelator filter and they call it a Motorcraft filter. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as I've researched, a Purelator is basically the same as a Motorcraft with just a slapped on different label. So if you switch on to that, then pretty much good. You basically just want to have very filtered, good filtration. And don't even, like I was telling you earlier, with the mileage setting, 5,000, 7,500, 10,000 miles of oil change interval setting on the 2013 F-150, at least that year, that gives you that option. Even if you set it for 5,000 miles, it will allow you to still go on 10,000 miles before it says service engine soon. Service engine soon at 10,000 miles, even when you set it for 5,000 miles. I don't think that's right. I'm very frustrated about that personally. And I think that if you set it for 5,000 miles, it better tell you at 5,000 miles, or give or take just a little, that you need the oil change interval. You need to change your oil. But no, my 2013 F-150, if I set it for 5,000 miles, oil change interval, it will still let me run 10,000 miles. 10,000. And if you watch a lot of them YouTube videos about oil and the breakdown and the total base number and how it starts to break down over several thousand miles, 10,000 miles is a really bad number to be at. So if you're running your engine oil at 10,000 miles, you better think again. Don't even listen to that. Don't even pay attention to the computer system telling you your oil change intervals. You should go through and you have a trip A and a trip B. Most of the time, at least I do. Trip A, I do my commuting and all that with my regular driving, daily driving. Trip B, that's my oil change interval. As soon as that reaches anywhere close to 5,000 or even a little bit before, you damn right, I am driving it into that garage and I'm draining it, putting a Wix filter on it, fully synthetic Wix filter, and I am doing fully synthetic Quaker State, you know, Super Tech, Pennzoil, anything cheap. Oil. It's okay to go a little bit cheap as long as you go fully synthetic. It's okay to go a little bit cheap. Filters, nah, you don't want to do Fram. You don't want to do. Uh, Micro Guard is okay as far as the cheaper side. Avoid Fram. My Mobile One is good. Wix is fabulous. Purelator. If you go to AutoZone, I think they do Purelator. That's okay, you know. But other than that, I wouldn't go anything different. And let me know, for all of you Ford F-150 owners out there, at least the first generation Coyote 5.0, I am personally very not really a fan with any of the what is it called, with the V6 and the twin turbos. The I'm not a fan. I like the naturally aspirated, just smooth running, old fashioned V8 style. You know, at least dual overhead cam is the only really modernization on this V8. But it is a mean, lean running machine, and as long as you treat it well, it's gonna treat you well. Think accordingly, guys, and let me know what you think, please. I will talk to you guys later, and maybe I'll give you more of this footage. If you got any questions, any comments, please let me know, and we will we'll see what more kind of content we can come up with. Later, guys. Have a good one.